Derek Walcott, a far cry right from Africa. Let's simplify the introduction to Derek Walcott. Who was Derek Walcott? Imagine being born on a beautiful island where the sea, the sky, and the land tell stories of many people from different parts of the world. Derek Walcott was born in such a place called St. Lucia on 23 January 1930. He had a twin brother named Roderick. Their dad, Warwick, was a very talented man who wrote poems and painted pictures, and their mom, Alix, was a teacher who loved poetry. Growing up with art and poetry, Derek grew up surrounded by art and stories. His parents were big fans of all things creative, encouraging Derek and his brother to paint and get involved in theatre plays from a young age. Derek first fell in love with painting, but soon, he found magic in words. Poetry became his way of expressing himself. Early start as a poet. By the time Derek was 14, he had already written and shared his first poem with others. By 19, he was so passionate about poetry that he published 2 collections of his poems all by himself. School and moving to Trinidad. Derek went to school in St. Lucia and then to a university in Jamaica. When he finished his studies, he moved to Trinidad in 1953. There, he wrote about theatre and art and even helped start a theatre group with his brother. Becoming famous. In 1962, Derek published a book of poems that made him famous. It was called In a Green Night, and it talked about how beautiful the Caribbean is, its history, and how it was affected by being colonized by European countries. He wrote many more books, exploring his feelings about his home in the Caribbean, his experiences in America, and his thoughts about the world. A teacher and winner of many awards, Derek loved sharing his knowledge with others, so he taught at universities all over the world. He won many awards for his poetry and plays, including the very prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature in 1992 for a big poem he wrote called Omeros. What did Derek Walcott write about? Derek wrote a lot about where he came from, the Caribbean. He talked about its beautiful mix of cultures, the different languages people spoke, and its history. He didn't like the idea that you had to choose between being influenced by European culture or African and Caribbean cultures. Instead, he mixed them together in his work, showing that being from different backgrounds is something special. Derek also often wrote about the idea of searching for who you are, which can be a complicated journey but also an exciting one. He used stories and characters to explore these big ideas in a way that made people think and feel deeply. This simplified explanation aims to convey the essence of Derek Walcott's life and work in terms that are relatable to a young audience, emphasizing his cultural background, his early start in the arts, his significant achievements, and the themes of his work. A Far Cry from Africa is a poem that deals with complex feelings about identity and history, especially relating to colonial violence. Derek Walcott uses this poem to explore his divided loyalties between his African heritage and his love for the English language, amidst the backdrop of colonial atrocities. Let's go through the poem, line by line, in simpler terms. A Far Cry from Africa. 1. A wind is ruffling the tawny pelt of Africa, Kikuyu, quick as flies. A wind is messing up Africa's surface, and the Kikuyu people of Kenya are moving quickly, like flies. 2. Batten upon the bloodstreams of the welt corpses are scattered through a paradise. People are violently attacking the natural lands of Africa, where dead bodies are now lying in what used to be a paradise. 3. Only the worm, kernel of carrion, cries, waste no compassion on these separate dead. Only the worms, which eat dead bodies, are saying not to feel sorry for these dead people because they're used to it. 4. Statistics justify and scholars seize the salience of colonial policy. Numbers and studies are used to defend and grab the key points of the rules made by colonizers. 5. What is that to the white child hacked in bed? 2 savages, expendables as Jewish. What do these rules mean to a white child killed in their bed? or to the native people and Jews who are seen as easily disposable? 6. Threshed out by beaters, the long rushes break in a white dust of ibises whose cries. The long plants are beaten down, breaking into pieces, and white birds are disturbed by this violence, making noise. 7. Have wheels since civilization's dawn from the parched river or bee-steaming plain. These birds have been around since the beginning of civilization, living in dry rivers or plains full of animals. 8. The violence of beast on beast is read as natural law, but upright man seeks his divinity by inflicting pain. Animals attacking each other is seen as natural, but humans try to prove they're superior by causing pain to others. 9. Delirious as these worried beasts, his wars dance to the tightened carcass of a drum. Humans, crazy like scared animals, fight their wars to the sound of a drum made from an animal skin. 10. While he calls courage still that native dread of the white peace contracted by the dead. People call it bravery to not be afraid of the kind of peace that only comes when you're dead. 11. Again brutish necessity wipes its hands upon the napkin of a dirty cause, again. Once more, harsh needs are cleaned off on the excuse of a bad cause, repeating the cycle. 12. A waste of our compassion. As with Spain, the gorilla wrestles with the Superman. Our pity is wasted, just like with Spain's history, where the fight is between those seen as less civilized and those seen as more advanced. 13. I who am poisoned with the blood of both, where shall I turn, divided to the vein? I am mixed with both sides' blood, where am I supposed to go, feeling torn apart inside? 14. I who have cursed the drunken officer of British rule, how choose? I, who have hated the abusive British rulers, how can I make a choice? 15. Between this Africa and the English tongue I love? Between my African roots and the English language that I love? 16. Betray them both, or give back what they give? How can I face such slaughter and be cool? Should I be disloyal to both, or respond with what they offer? How can I stay calm in the face of such violence? 17. How can I turn from Africa and hell? How can I turn away from Africa and? This poem captures Walcott's struggle with his mixed heritage, the violence of colonialism, and his love for the English language amidst the backdrop of historical and cultural violence. It's a powerful reflection on identity, violence, and the complexities of colonial history. Let's sum up the poetry. A Far Cry from Africa, by Derek Walcott, is a poignant exploration of the poet's internal conflict, caught between his African heritage and his affinity for the English language and culture amidst the backdrop of colonial violence. The poem vividly describes the brutal realities of colonialism in Africa, particularly focusing on the Mau Mau uprising in Kenya against British rule. Through stark imagery of violence and the natural world, Walcott delves into themes of identity, colonialism, and the moral complexities of belonging to two worlds with a troubled history. Walcott portrays the landscape of Africa and its turbulent history as a witness to the cruelty and inhumanity of colonial exploitation. He uses the plight of the Kikuyu people and the broader implications of colonialism to question the justifications of such violence and the loss of innocence. The poem grapples with the poet's own loyalties, as he feels poisoned by the blood of both the colonizer and the colonized, unsure of where his allegiance should lie. Through this deeply personal and historical lens, Walcott addresses the broader dilemma of post-colonial identity, the legacy of colonialism, and the search for a sense of belonging in a world marked by division and violence. A Far Cry from Africa is not just a reflection on Walcott's own identity crisis but a lament for the cultural and human costs of colonial domination.